Hey everybody, welcome back. Just checking my audio levels over there. Alright, we're fantastic. Good morning everybody, welcome to a new live stream. We're going to be doing another compositing shot today. Today we're going to be doing a more topical shot. We're going to be creating a Ghostbusters Proton Laser Pack Blaster shot. I went through the Action VFX website and I didn't see any, they had some sci-fi blasters, but it was like this lady with the going like this with the gun, and that's not exactly the effect that I was going for with the Ghostbusters thing. So we're taking a different gunshot here, and we will be, oops, let me mute myself over here. I have myself on my cell phone down here just so that way I could see all the chat, because it's actually not an easy way when you're using both your monitors to composite and you're streaming from both your monitors. You kind of lose all that stuff. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump on in the shot here. Welcome everybody to the stream. If you guys are new here, my name is Connor Thomas. I'm a VFX artist and visual effects supervisor, also a writer and director. I just shot my own film last year that I did all the visual effects for, of course. And yeah, so today we're gonna be doing a Ghostbuster shot because the Ghostbusters movie is coming out this week, I think. So I'm really excited about that. I thought the Afterlife one was super fun, and I imagine this one should be pretty good too. So let's go ahead and jump in here. This is the shot that we'll be doing today, which is kind of like him with like a regular AK-47. Again, I know it's not like the correct gun, but I figured it would be kind of like the perfect shot and angle to get. Hey Diego, welcome into the chat. And of course, hi Keysign, welcome back to the stream. This is the this will be the shot, and I think we're going to add some laser blasters in. I went through yesterday and I made a couple pieces of footage that we'll be using here. Firstly, I created the plate already, so that way we didn't have to make this live on stream. If you want a tutorial on how to make visual effects plates, I actually released a whole tutorial completely just on that, and that I don't have the link in the description, but it is on the channel, so you guys can go find it there. And that's how to create plates with a proper ACES pipeline through DaVinci Resolve, which is a free software. So if you guys don't have DaVinci Resolve, then what are you doing? It's free, you know. And then finally, oops, I also created this second piece of footage here, which will be the blaster effect. And this I created inside of DaVinci, not DaVinci Resolve. I create this inside of Blender. And I don't have a tutorial out on how to make this, but I am planning on uploading something to my Patreon later today. Which, a quick plug, if you guys aren't part of the Patreon, then join. Link is in the description to help support this channel. There's a lot of tutorials that are going to be uploaded specifically to Patreon that will not be on YouTube as well. But this right here is just a blaster effect that I created inside of Blender really quickly yesterday, and I rendered it out using Eevee, and you can kind of tell because everything is super smooth. But we're going to be using this inside of our composite today to have for our blaster effect that we're using in Ghostbusters. Again, didn't see any assets on Action VFX that was like a Ghostbuster-like blaster. But yeah, I also, let's see, I was looking into the actual effect for that we could use as like a reference, and see if I could find what I was looking at. Oh, and I was this close, guys, yesterday to getting the I was this close yesterday to getting Boris like Sapphire plugin. But this was the shot here that I kind of like this newer version from Afterlife. That will turn off captions. We don't need captions. Where they've got kind of like this like kind of chaotic but somewhat modern version of the shot rather than going for the full 80s campy laser blaster. So this is kind of the effect that I think we're going to try to achieve today. So lots of the thing to note from this is there's lots of smoke, lens flares, and that's why I was like gonna buy Sapphire, because I was like, oh well, we'll just use the actual Sapphire lens flares pack because they don't have those on my home computer. But alas, that just isn't meant to be. The shot we'll be using today is this shot right here. You could find the link inside of the description. So if you scroll down, you'll first see the practice footage assets. Go ahead and click on that link. It'll take you to this page here. This is the shot that we will be doing the blaster effect on. This is free. It's on Action VFX. Of course, you're supposed to add in blood and all that stuff, but we're not doing that on this particular shot. But you can, if you want to, hey, try that out. And then, of course, I'm going to be using some more assets, such as some of these shockwave effects that we have here from Action VFX. And again, you can find this all on their website under like 2D elements and so on. What else? Well, I think that's it. If you do create your own visual effects shot, make sure to join our Discord and share it. Would love to see some other people's versions of their visual effects shots. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into this shot. I already dropped in the plate as well as the comp footage here. This is actually pretty easy for us to attach onto. The one thing I did though, since it was rendered out in Blender, the frame range was different. I did say start the frame at 1000 rather than having it start at frame like 27, which is where my simulation was beginning. But yeah, let's go ahead and first drop in like a tracker. I'm just going to go through and we're going to track kind of the barrel of this gun, because the other thing that I did was I have this whole thing kind of static. It stays in like this spot of the image right here. It's kind of like where the electricity is kind of emitting from. So we're going to need to track the barrel of the gun to have our electricity move with it. So I'll go ahead and add on like a tracker. Imagine like just like a small tracker would work. He doesn't move all that much, so we can kind of not worry too much about what this is going to, how good this track has to be. Well, also it's electricity, it's pretty chaotic, so there's a lot of room for error on this, which is why we're doing this on live stream rather than some crazy other shot. But yeah, that track looks really good to me. So I'm just doing a transform. Again, we don't need the rotation or anything like that. He stays pretty static in the orientation of his gun. And also, if he was to do anything 3D, then we would have had to do a 3D camera move and then render that out in the plate. And maybe that's what I'll do is, if I'm doing a Blender tutorial on it on the Patreon, I'll cover that aspect of it, so like a 3D camera track and being able to render out the blaster in 3D for what you need. I think that'll be a little bit better. Oh, that's right. Let's go ahead and output this as a match move. And then over here for this guy, we need to first, we're going to reformat him, because I don't think he's in the right... Oh, he's technically pretty close, I think. No, he's not. So do 2048 by 1080. Where's that at? Here it is. And then, of course, if we add in a transform of where we're going to want this guy, I'm also going to add in a merge node that'll make it a little bit easier to see everything that we're trying to do here. Just merge them over here with a plus value. Let me make this a little easier for myself. And just kind of lining them up roughly to where the barrel of the gun is and where we want the blaster to kind of have the electricity coming out from. Okay, great. And then now with this transform match move, all we really have to do is, I'm going to go over here to make sure that it's starting on frame 1000. And if we place that onto our shot now, it should track with the blaster, or yeah, with our gun. I'll call it the blaster, because it's basically what we're going to be creating here. Of course, we're having a bit of some clipped edges here. Nothing, not too much of a problem. There's a couple things we could totally do. The flare is the thing that's going off the edge here. But what I think would look pretty nice is if we just edge blurred it. Go look at that. It blurs off the edges pretty nicely, especially when highlights get close to it, which adds like this kind of flaring effect that's happening. And I'm even thinking we'll just boost this number up to something like 500. Maybe 300. Yeah. Let's see what 500 looks like in motion. It's a bit much. Let's see. The other thing we could do for sure here is instead of... we could only focus on the highlights here, and so that we could get rid of like pretty much everything else. What I like to do for that is just throw in a keyer to the mix, and that's going to basically create an alpha of only the areas that are the most bright, rather than some of the fall off dark areas, because we can make all of that ourselves inside of Nuke. And then of course, I'll go ahead and drop in another merge node here. And this merge node, let's go ahead and make this a mask option. Where's that at? And now, that'll only have kind of like our alpha area, which should be the same identically in the center piece here. We're just removing the fall off blur that we're going to be adding after our transform. Now we could get rid of that edge blur. But, so that places everything onto our scene. We just don't have any flaring going on. Just make sure. Is that the actual edge of the... That's hilarious. I didn't realize that I had to go off the edge for that. Trying to see if there's a way that we can... And then, okay, great. So now let's go ahead and add in kind of like a bit of a glow fall off. So I'm just going to move everything down just to give ourselves some more space. And this can go over here. Just trying to keep things a little bit cleaner. We're going to create a bit of a glow to the outer edges of everything here. So we already have everything kind of set up. Let's go ahead and add in a glow here, where we're going to change the tolerance to be a little bit higher, probably like a 0.02 or something like that. We're just going to target like a specific area of the effect. I'm going to say effect only first of all, of course, and then with the brightness, let's make this about 0.5, and then change the saturation to something also around 0.5, and the size, let's make this size adjustment to something like a 17. Okay, and now if we drop in another merge, this merge is going to be on top of our main pipeline right here. So we're just going to drop that in there, and this should be a plus or a screen operator, and that's going to kind of add a nice little glow to it. And we're going to do the same thing again. So of course, drop in another glow, and be doing this with a merge again, so the merge will be back to there. But let's focus on this real quick. The tolerance for this one is going to be probably, let's try like a 0.4 or 0.45, and then let's change the brightness on this one to something a little bit larger, 0.75, and then I'll just make the saturation on this also 0.75. And then of course we're going to change this size here. Let's make this a lot smaller, something like a 5 should do. And of course I'm going to check effect only, and then if we connect this as another plus, this is going to add just kind of like this inner glow to the inside of our effect, whereas this one is a little bit on the outside of the effect. And so now that's going to give us a better fall off on the outside of our glow that's going on here. If I were to go through, I'd probably re-render this plate that I created to not have it go off screen here. So that's a little unfortunate that this happened this way. But I aside from that, we're going to add another glow into this. And this glow, let's change the tolerance to be something like, honestly, not that high. Let's just do like a 0.2 or something. I'm going to do effect only again. Oops. And let's change the brightness here to 0.5. Change the saturation to like a 0.8. And then this size, we're going to just crank it way up to a lot larger. And that's just going to blur everything quite a bit. So if we just add another merge node into here, with another plus, should work pretty nicely. Another way we could do this would be with a blur node. I'm trying to keep the color in there. I'm not really happy with how that kind of got rid of everything. I guess as we're blurring it, it's actually removing the color. I wonder if we add a saturation node in. Yeah, that should work for us. So if we blur that with a saturation node, that way I can keep all of our nice, beautiful color in there. And I'm just going to make that a lot smaller. Yeah, I shot, it's a short film, so we're taking it to festivals right now. It's about 10.5 minutes long. It's a monster horror film. The trailer is on my YouTube channel, or teaser trailer is on my YouTube channel. So it's a werewolf monster film. It took like 6 months to do all the visual effects for it, but insanely worth it. It's my first tackle at something like that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited with how it turned out. You know, it's one of those things where it's like it's a lot of work that goes into it. I wrote the script in, let's see, September. Yeah, about September or so. I think it was about September in 2022, right? Yes, in 2022. We filmed in 2023, and then it did all of the visual effects, sound, all the post-production and everything for it, all the way through 2023, and it finished in January of 2024. So a very long process for sure. So now we can kind of control the amount of kind of like this overall blur that's happening inside of this section here, which is going to add glow everywhere. We are still having like this clipped edge, so maybe an easy way of fixing this is I'm going to drop in another merge. Let's do it this way. I'll set this to like RGBA. I'm trying to do this new method of like, oh, well, let's also do this real quick. I gotta set the reformat here to 2048 by 1080. And then let's see, drop that B into here. And a mask option. And then if I invert this, will you release behind the scenes for a film? Yes, and actually I already started posting behind the scenes on my Patreon, because that's primarily where I was posting that stuff so far. And then I will be showing some like VFX breakdowns and stuff like that as well on there. The reason why I'm putting it on the Patreon is that the film isn't allowed to be public right now, so I can't really show the film. So I'm also kind of just putting all the BTS stuff on there as well. Oh, that's much nicer. I think that works a lot better than just having like a hard edge. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so there we go. I fixed that fixed that top edge there to feel a little more natural rather than like it's clipping off the edge. And now we can adjust the amount of glow all through here, like the amount that we want. So I'm kind of thinking we can even have this kind of pulsate a little bit. So like maybe it's a little brighter right now. And then a little less so here. And that's pretty nice. I like that. For the initial effect, I think that works pretty good. I will say what we could do also is that we're having all of this kind of like glow happening off the edges. I kind of want to take the inside beams of it. Can we just, can we add some exposure to this? And that's going to give us more of like that white edge in the center. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. We're going to do 2 separate passes for this, but I want this line here. Let's just actually take it over here. Let's erode fast. And we can dilate inwards like so. I want to do the same thing though with the mask here. Have that drop in there and have that drop in here. And that'll make just like these thinner arcs that we can definitely boost up the exposure on. I'm even thinking we do that. We should, yeah, exactly. Okay, great. And then now if I take this now dilated section and increase the exposure, that'll make these like really small thin arcs that we can then comp back on top of our regular CG. So I'm going to move this whole element down here. And we'll just add another merge node in. And that will be a little bit bigger. And then let's make this even smaller. And I'm going to use like a plus operator, although that should be fine. How much do we hate that? I feel like a lot. Actually, I feel like I want this to happen after the glow happens. So let's just paste that whole thing there. If I do want this at all, it'd have to be down here. Yeah, so that way it's just kind of adding in like this white glow on the inside rather than... We'll say it feels a little double exposure-y. Do we dilate? Oh, so then it dilates, and then we blur. Can I do that? No. Has to be all the way up there before the alpha input. And I think this blur right here just adds that kind of fall off on the middle. Which I suppose actually I'll need this whole thing also. Which, speaking of which, can we just take this? Yeah. And I'll move that down, connect it there. Now we're having the better top of the shot. How many of you guys have seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, like their new like reboot of the show? And then of course now we need the actual lighting of this to be reflected on his face. Rather than doing normals like we did last time, we can actually probably just roto his face. It's a lot easier. Let's see, 320. Let's go back a few and go to the 19. Okay, move that over here. Did you enjoy it? I never watched the original Ghostbusters until... Oof. I didn't watch it until the Afterlife one was really coming out, and then I was like, oh well, I have to check out the actual Ghostbusters, and I watched that before I watched Afterlife, so I did watch the original before going into it, but I didn't have like that nostalgia factor of growing up with Ghostbusters to really have that. I don't know. And so I feel like the original was a little silly, but okay, that's a lot of 80s films, right? I'm gonna track this side of his face because I'm going to have like a roto on this side of the face. You have the strangest relationship with films for someone who grew up making films. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But by the way, Ben, welcome into the chat. I don't have a strange relationship. It's like I don't have a bad relationship with films. I don't have a bad relationship with films. I just didn't watch a lot of films, a lot of different films. So like, I watched Star Wars, dude. Like, you don't need much more than Star Wars, okay? I'm gonna fake his face shape here. Just give it a bit of a shape. What other movies do you need when you've got all of the Star Wars films? I also watch like movies like that nobody ever talks about, you know? Like I watched a lot of old films. Like I watched Casablanca, I watched these are all the great movies that I was like, "Oh, this is the best film ever." Treasure of Sierra Madre, Kane Mutiny. Like these are all films nobody talks about, dude. So like it's not my problem that the movies that I did end up watching nobody cares about. No. Casablanca was a bad example of what everybody knows about. I was saying that nobody watches like Treasure of Sierra Madre or Kane Mutiny or 12 O'Clock High or 12 Angry Men or Flight of the Phoenix or any of the freaking number of films that I like watched growing up. Those movies were not aren't really talked about. Hey, see? Key's got my back here. I'm going to make the brightness on this quite large. It's maybe not that large, but something like that should be fine. I'm going to, as we talked about last time, I figured why not this time do it. We'll use a curves of like this area to really drive the factor of our key. So let's go ahead and just do it this way. Let's go boop. I'm gonna move this whole section down again just to give ourselves some more space. Yeah, what am I getting old by saying they don't make movies like they used to? I feel like that's me getting old. Now if I just use this curves intensity, this will give us all of this intensity data that we can use, and that intensity data is like right here. And this is essentially the alpha of, or the brightness value of what we're going for. Yeah, dude, I mean, if you're going to look at Marvel movies and say, hey, this, well, that is true, for better or worse, right? Because I feel like a lot of those movies, I don't know, actually, I just wasn't alive in that period of time to know if that was what kids watched or what was like the retention. What is I'm trying to figure out. So I'll need intensity data. Yeah, intensity data, and then this is the curve. RGBA, probably. We'll just select intensity data. That should work fine. You hope Sony makes a Bullet Train 2? Yeah, that's such a funny movie, dude. Now here's the problem with our intensity data here is that it goes to basically nothing once. Is that actually grading it there? No, it's not. Well, it is slightly, but I'm gonna go look at our curve tool here and make an adjustment to where the location of it is. I do feel like we want to grab that every time it goes above the area in which it's clipping, that should affect it. Let's see if that helps out a little bit. There we go. Now we just blur that a little more. A little more, a little more. By the way, I know how bad my mic sounds. Don't worry. I'm working on a fix for that. Okay, so let's just do this. We're gonna edit this expression. I'm gonna take this intensity data and then make an offset of like 0.5 to it. So that way it's always a minimum value of 0.5. for the amount that it's showing here. I might even make it a little more than that. But now you can kind of see his face flickering a little bit better. Let's see how that works with our merge node. And that's just an easy way to take from our animation and kind of like comp it on back on top of it. But yeah, Ben, I don't think I have a bad relationship with films. What are you talking about? I just watched a lot of Western films. Like, I watched, like, all the Clint... it's just, like, I feel like that is the type of movies that I grew up watching. Was that and, like, oh, that's right. I didn't watch, like, kind of, like, the big classics. Like, Back to the Future. I didn't watch that until I watched that with you in college. But yeah, I mean, I watched Jurassic Park. I watched, you know, those other films, you know, that everybody talks about. There's just a lot of movies in the world for you to be like, hey, you got to watch everything, you know? I'm going to add tracks for like specific eyes and whatnot. I should do this on the first frame. I don't know why I did it there. Delete that track. Add a new track. I believe that there should be a team-up movie featuring Madam Web and Spider-Man. Did you watch Madam Web and did you like it? I just need to know that. Because I watched Madam Web, believe it or not. I'm going to use this transform here as another match move. Create. And if we add in like a grade node, my goal is just to have a roto node that we'll use this mask tool on. Kind of wanting to add in some kind of glare on his eyes. The film was Alright, so now we have that. We can actually use our match move in our stack here. I'm going to make sure that the transform is set to current position for 1000, just in case there's any like weird keyframes before or after. But that's going to move with the movement there. Now, kind of what I'm thinking might be a good idea is this roto node here is if we take a merge from there. And I'm thinking this. Let's clean this up a little bit better. Almost thinking we'll want to transform, because we will. And I'm going to just kind of position this. Let's scale it down. If we scale this down and put this like in front of his eyes, So I didn't read the comic books. Is she supposed to be like blind in the thing? Because I guess I just wasn't a comic book reader growing up. Also, just wasn't a lot of things, man. I went outside and made my own games with the basketball, volleyball, and a football, all in one. So. I'm going to use this merge node now here. Instead of to use this as a grade, I am thinking we could just take this and then merge it on top of it. So let's go and do it that way. Now it's going to have that flicker that we would have to fake otherwise. Now we can just get that for free. Well, that makes sense. It's because I did this wrong. I'm going to add a reformat node in the top here. Where did my little thing go? Okay, so the reformat node, oops, did I just delete my transform? Let's delete that. So now we have the transform in the correct area. Then we say we want the A input to be there. The mask input here is going to be from this roto and blur over here. And that's going to give us just the eye. And then this goes into there. And now, boom, we comp that on top of our eye, and we can control the amount of it through the mask that we have. But that should give us a nice... I don't know why we're getting some weird options, or weird flickering going on. Oh, right. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Let's copy, paste that to our after our transforms. That way it moves with our dude. So now we're getting that flicker kind of in his eyes that we didn't get otherwise. The movie Morbius was a disappointment for vampires and Marvel film fans. all the vampire fans out there were very disappointed. Okay, I think that works really nicely for the one eye there. Just adding in that flicker to his eyes. Let's add that to his other eye as well. So, okay, this match move here, in all honesty, we could probably just delete. Then just make that after, so now we have the same effect, but the match move is only happening once. The reason I did that also is because I wanted to have a transform here. Because we only have one eye, and I need to basically duplicate everything to have it move over. The one thing that I couldn't understand with Madam Web was, I don't know, does anybody know the story behind this? But the dude that played the bad guy, he was such a bad actor. Like, and it was just the way he talked, just was so unrealistic. Now, I mean the writing, not just the acting. The writing was bad. Like, what he would say didn't make any sense. He'd be like, oh yeah, it's like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna kill you. Wouldn't you want to, like, it just, the way he delivered the lines was bad. kind of what you said was always very exposition-y. I don't know. It was just very strange to me. He was dubbed in ADR after? They rewrote the movie in post. How do you do that? How do you rewrite a movie in post? That's wild. That does make sense. I was talking to my coworker yesterday about it, and he did mention that he thought there was some ADR done in it. I was like, okay, well, ADR, sure, but like, and you know what? ADR sometimes is very difficult to get right. It's very difficult to get right. Oops. Let's delete this track, add a new track, set it to current frame. There we go. It's a weird bug in this like Nuke 15 thing that I noticed is that sometimes if you move the tracker node first and resize it, it'll snap it to frame 1. Executives? Oh man, dude. Now the real question is like release the Snyder cut. Like can we release the Madam Web version that doesn't suck balls? Is that possible? The other thing I kind of find somewhat humorous on this whole situation. I mean, it's never funny when a movie flops because, in all honesty, like to us, you know, it doesn't make that big of a difference because we're like, yeah, the movie kind of was trash, right? But like, a lot of people have their money on things like that, you know, like different people that. I'm gonna line this up a little better over here. Like some of the actors get paid more through deals being as producers and whatnot. And like sometimes it's not the actor's fault that the movie sucked. Remember back in the day when a big budget movie came out and flopped, the studio would release an unrated director's cut? I actually don't remember that, but that sounds pretty killer. Here we go. That's the flicker, guys, in the eyes. And that'll correlate really nicely with our flare effect that we got going on here. That looks nice. We always add in all these details in the comp just for us to add blur and darken everything later anyways, right guys? Oh, I just realized this whole time you guys couldn't see what I was doing. I guess it doesn't really matter. Essentially what I was doing was I made the eye, I took the actual frame here from the eye, reformatted it, and then I made 2 slivers of the eye like this, like so, and like so, and then I comped it on top of the shot here using 2 different tracks that would do that. For all these details for the DI to go in and ruin it. Yeah, well, I don't like to say that because, so I'm a visual effects artist, visual effects supervisor, technically speaking, and I work at a DI facility, so we do color and visual effects, so I'm not allowed to make that comment. But, and actually, what's really nice about the studio that I work at is since I work in tandem with the colorist, we never have to be worried that any of the effects that I'm doing aren't getting passed along. I can communicate that directly to the colorist or vice versa. So if the colorist wants to do like a specific thing, they'll let me know and then I can, you know, prep for it. Actually works great for like day for night shots and things like that. Yeah, I'm thinking this flare looks really good, guys. I like that effect. I'm going to add kind of like an overall kind of like lens flare to this thing as well. I am thinking on this window here, how's the camera positioned? No, we're not going to really see any reflections. You find the problem with the DI aren't talking to VFX or when they try to do huge changes. Well, you also got to think about it from it's not necessarily the DI's fault sometimes for that particular instance. A lot of the times that could just be because the producers want to have like a change, right? And their change that they want, they realize how expensive it'll be to go all the way back to visual effects. So then they try to fix it in post. Hence the thing, right? Like, so they'll try to fix it without going all the way back. I will say it is funny because like I work in a environment where, because I work in tandem with the colorist, I just end up always getting shots knocked back to me, and you're oftentimes like, hey, why can't the colorist just do this? Okay, let's take this whole thing here. I'm going to do another merge node. I'm just going to try to create a little more. What does DI mean? Digital intermediate. It is the process of taking taking footage and color grading it. I always liken it to Instagram filters. If you don't know what color grading is, then it's sometimes difficult to explain exactly what it is. But I will say the best way to describe it is that they take the log footage with proper color science. There's a lot of math behind it, and I'm really dumbing it down here. But they take the footage and then, using proper color science, convert it to imagery that we would want to be able to see. For instance, this is converting this to sRGB display. You can see that up here. So that is just color science. So you can receive linear footage, you can receive log footage. And then they color grade on top of it. So for instance, let's say I wanted this part of the image here to be darker because it's distracting to the viewer. Then they would color grade specific parts of the window by power windowing certain sections and making it darker. And they'll use different tools such as DaVinci Resolve is actually a color grading software. And like our company uses Baselight, so you know there are different ways to accomplish these feats to do that kind of stuff. I'm thinking let's have more of a fall off here. Don't want. What did I just do? And but yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of. It's really kind of sad for colorists that there's not a lot of education out there for like what the process of color grading is. In fact, actually, a lot of people I feel like just think that films aren't color graded whatsoever, and that it's just straight out of camera, and that the DP kind of just does everything themselves, rather than you know, the kind of synergy of a colorist working with a DP to achieve stuff. Because colorists will actually work on films before like the film starts often, you know. They'll create show LUTs that the DP loads into the camera monitoring system. But yeah, I'm sure you know what a colorist is, but the DI is just a digital intermediate. Make bank too. It is a hard job, for sure, for sure. Okay, so that's gonna kind of create a little more shape to his face, rather so it feels like the flare's coming more from this side. I'm just trying to. wondering if we do something like that, just make it a little brighter. By the way, this whole thing with the eyes that I did, you could do the same thing with like a flamethrower or something like that as well. Same similar effect. Just add a little bit of eye light into the shot. So before, after so far of what we've got going on. I'm going to add in a flare now. Now we're going to add in a flare. Which... I'm just going to do the same thing I did last time, honestly. Just using Blender. Because I currently don't have any Boris effects or anything like that. So let's just do it in here. Add in a single point light, and then for our image here, doesn't matter what millimeter lens this is set to, but we'll do EV's fine. 2048 by 1080, and let's see, please tell me I have lens flares installed. I do. Let's go. I'm gonna add a background image. We'll find our thing. Lumix S2 can display LUTs on log footage. That is correct, yeah. Most nicer grade cameras can, yeah. Like a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera can. It's helpful, especially if you're going to have like a dramatic look after the fact, to have a LUT loaded into your system, so that way you're not thinking you're getting a specific image that later will look completely different. So we're going to want 34 frames for this. There's our shot, guys, and what I do now in Blender is I have this lens flare plugin. This is like $5. I definitely recommend it. All I do is I just line it up with what I want. I create a keyframe. Okay. I'm going to create a keyframe at that specific spot there, and I'm just going to go through pretty much frame by frame, honestly. Or we could even... It's first, I'm going to go through it every 5 frames. This will just make it easier, because who knows, we might not need to do all this extra work. And now it's a little floaty, so we'll just fix that every half of that. How do you get half of 5? We don't know. Can't split frames in half, that's for sure. He's doing all these micro jitters in his gun movement. That should work pretty nicely. Oops, didn't mean to hide it. I always press H because, like, in Nuke, that's the tool to go back to full screen. Okay, let's set this to a black backdrop. And we can kind of get rid of our background image now. Although actually, let's leave it on there for a half a second. I'm going to select this now, and then using the lens flare plugin, I'm going to find kind of like this. Let's go for some kind of like anamorphic. The red might be nice. I'm even thinking, let's just look at the shot. Something similar to this kind of blaster effect is what we should be going for. So let's see. No. And really this kind of depends on the actual flare of like that your camera should be creating, but obviously we're just trying to emulate a effect. Again, it doesn't really matter what color we do because we're going to be changing this inside of our comp anyways. I'll just pick this. I'm going to add another flare on top of it actually. Let's do that by just adding an advanced glow. And then this glow, of course, we're going to make the color we want. Just to kind of get it in the general ballpark of what we're going for here. And then with our anamorphic here, what I like to do is we can make some adjustments to some of the streaks that are we want a little more of or a little less of. I think this is pretty close to what we'll want, so I'm going to render this out. PNGs are fine for this because we're just going to be multiplying it on top of our footage. Or not multiplying, but we'll be plussing it. Plus, plus, plus. Oh, is that today's date? Yes. Flare 01, guys. And using EV, this will be done in like a second. This is what I love about EV. It just renders so freaking fast, guys. But yeah, we'll just render these out of PNG. I will use 16-bit. We'll save that later. Wow, this is actually rendering slow. I get so hungry early when I wake up early. It's like that's why I wake up way later, guys, because then I get hungry later, right? That makes sense. Of course, let's add in our flare. Just using like a merge node, we can just add it over top of it. All we need to do now is set this to a plus. And I'm going to add in a grade node just to match this better because we're going to want it a little brighter. I can always lessen the amount of visibility here. But since we did do 16-bit, it gives us the ability to grade this as much as we'd like. How many hats do I wear? Usually just one. No, I'm just kidding. How do you mean? Like where I work or just like in general? Because I guess you could say I wear multiple hats if you're counting like, hey, I do live streaming as well as I have a day job. But I don't know if that's what you're referring to. I'm not a fan of this lens flare, so we're probably gonna have to re-render this. Not a fan. At work, it's a good question. I work at a smaller studio, so I kind of just do. Okay. Compared to every other VFX artist that works at like every other company, I do everything. So when it comes to doing visual effects, I kind of take care of everything. I'm a bit of a generalist, so I'll do compositing, CG, you know, kind of like the coordinating aspect of talking to the client, so on and so forth. That's kind of everything that I'll take care of. So normally at a studio, you would have a bunch of people kind of tackling those different areas of the job, but yeah. Oh, as far as filmmaking is concerned, yeah, I don't know. Now I'm trying to get into the world of directing and so on. So there's a lot. I'm gonna go with a simpler flare. I'm thinking. Let's call this flare 2. You know, let's put it this way. It's less than when I was a kid and I had to do everything. I was actually literally joking with my coworker yesterday about that. How like when I did my film Bad Omen, I was like, oh, this will be the first time, because I've made films all growing up, so it's a bit of a misnomer for me to say that this was my first ever film that I created, or a short film that I created. But I was like, the whole idea of creating Bad Omen was that I would then be able to hire other people to do stuff, right? And I wouldn't have to do everything. But what ended up happening is I still did quite a bit of things, but I had other people help me do everything else. So now I think my next plan is when I do another film, we have even more people, so that way I could do slightly less things. That's always the goal, is to do slightly less than what I had to do before. I'm a Swiss Army knife. Well, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people that work in the industry are. You certainly have to be when you're a VFX artist. Well, you don't have to be a VFX artist. Like, you could totally work at a studio and just do like one thing and not worry about like the million other things that have to happen on a film. But for me anyways, I work at a small studio, so I kind of have to do everything that you can possibly think of. A good trick for this though is I'm going to add noise over top of everything. So let's go ahead and drop in a denoise. So that way I can just re-noise everything later. There's a lot of gray areas in this image to use to analyze. So I'm just going to select this dark kind of back area here. And we'll just select denoise amount and just increase that a crap ton. And we're just getting rid of that noise. Bigger studios are great for really honing your craft though. Yeah, that is true. And I've always been kind of envious of people that got to work at large studios. I really love where I work, so I wouldn't change that. But I will say that there is something to it to work at a large studio and be able to just focus on, like, dude, do you know how much I wish that I could just focus on like one task rather than learning everything? It's like, it's kind of ridiculous sometimes. Okay, here's another cool trick. I like to, if you press W on your keyboard, it allows you to split screen, and then you can kind of split it down the middle. You haven't done anything outside of Nuke in months, which is a nice change. Dude, that would be so freaking nice. Although, for me, if I'm being honest, it's the thing that I'm not as good at is CG. I would love to just do CG. That's all I would want to do. If I could work at Framestore, I would love to work at Framestore, dude. Like, and do some of the stuff that they work on. Holy cow. Great stuff. I don't get to do any of that for work at all. None of like creature effects or anything like that. Okay, so the idea is that we're basically wanting to match the amount of grain on both sides of this like W here. This is actually pretty close. And yeah, okay. So now I could take this grain node and apply that down here. And that's going to add grain onto everything. The thing we have to kind of be concerned about is that the highlights shouldn't have as much grain in them as the dark areas of your image. So there are some cool tricks we could do this to fix that. Generalists are well suited to advertising and such too. Can jump from project to project easier and do a bit of everything. That is true. And the majority of the film, like if you went and looked at my IMDb of the kind of work that I do, I work on I work on advertisement. Although that would be amazing to get into. I'd love to get into advertisement because there's just so much money in advertisement. I work on a lot of indie films, so indie also doesn't have the ability to hire, big studios to do their projects. So what ends up happening is they hire someone like me who can kind of do everything, and yeah, and I do my best. No, I'm really proud of a lot of the work that I get to work on. A lot of stuff that you can see that I've worked on is on like Netflix and HBO Max and things like that. So it's great to have the ability to work on different indie films that go into different areas like that. I'm going to primarily target kind of like the bright areas of the image here. And then if I use this as our mask option, although actually, funny enough, we're going to want this to plug. I'm doing this incorrectly here. Can even have it plug into there, it's fine. And our mask here can plug into that guy. So now we should be adding in grain to the bottom part there, but not onto the highlights of the actual white area there. And it is saying error because I think it's doing this whole apply through alpha thing that it's doing, but we can check that or uncheck that if we do. What is Nuke for? Nuke is this software. This is a compositing software, so it allows me to composite images into other images. So this is like the plate that we started with, and then we're compositing in his eyes and so on and so forth. It's basically like After Effects, but a million times better. It's also like Flame. It's a lot like Flame, actually. It's like DaVinci Resolve's Fusion. Okay. This is Nuke. Sorry, I wasn't showing this screen. This is Nuke. So, it's a compositing software. Allows me to get different types of footage. For instance, this is just this plate right here, and composite it into a plate that looks like this here. So I can go through in denoise, I can add in some different effects, I can add in some flares, I can grade different elements of the scene, I can add in our laser blaster and add in some grain all the way down there. Okay. Thinking we're going to want to add in some atmosphere to this. Is this a paid software? This software is. They do have a free version of Nuke that I definitely recommend getting. It's Nuke non-commercial. So if you Google Nuke non-commercial, you'll be able to find it. Nuke X is the thing that they always try to sell and get you to use. Nuke non-commercial, it only does up to HD footage, so like 1920 by 1080. But if you want a job in visual effects, then you should definitely use Nuke. see. I think this is pretty close. I think I want to add in some atmosphere to our scene, so let's do that. Oh, right. Thought it'd be kind of cool to use like an energy shockwave here. And let's go ahead and download the ProRes of this. It's aggravating to do this every single time. Can't you just default to the correct folder? I can't wait till computers can read your minds. That way it's like, hey, I need to download this file, and it just does it for you. That would be amazing. And it does it to the correct folder. Can't we get to that like era of AI already? Okay, so we're gonna have the light glint. Do this before the flare. I think we don't need the flare till after this part of the comp, so let's move that down. I'm thinking that this blaster effect thing, let's go ahead and add a time offset of 999 frames. You started out in After Effects and would never go back now. No, After Effects sucks. I wouldn't say never go back. I think here's the thing. It's good for certain things. Other things, not so much. It can do different things okay, but it certainly is better to use a software that's more fitted. Like, I wouldn't use Blender for compositing, though I think Blender is a great software. I wouldn't use Maya for a lot of things. I wouldn't use Maya. That's just me personally. I think Maya is completely outdated. And this is coming from a guy who has Maya. I have Maya. I could use Maya if I wanted to. Do I want to use Maya? No, I don't want to use Maya. Dangerous tech to read someone's mind? Yeah, probably. Maybe I'm asking for something I shouldn't be wanting. I don't know what I'm asking for, I guess. Imagine people hacking your mind? Yeah, wait till Neuralink comes out, dude. Let's just say we're gonna make this time. I need the speed of this to change. I hate doing things in. Is retime just the best option? That's fine. Retime's fine. And then let's get rid of that for a second. I'm going to add in a shuffle node. And we'll shuffle this into its own kind of like layer. Yeah, Neuralink's going to be crazy. We'll copy the RGB values of this, and then let's create a new name. You should write a sci-fi film about it. Yeah, they kind of already did. A lot of times. They keep telling us not to... They keep telling us not to do something like this, and here we are, guys. Alright, so under our heat wave, I'm just going to copy the RGB values over into it, so that way over here, I can add an eye distort. I think I can use the heat wave as our distortion area, and now if I... be honest, I don't use this too much, so... And then I think, let's see. I need this guy. Let's create another match move. That's pretty cool. It's pretty subtle. There's a few other things we can kind of do here. Let's add another blur in here. And I'm going to use as a masking option the heat wave balloon. And now we're just going to blur like a tiny bit. Not too much. But it's just going to be a tiny bit where that heat wave is kind of happening. Okay. And now the only thing I'm not really a fan of is how it kind of falls off. So let's see. I'm going to use another time offset after the retime. And it's going to be a -16 or -14. Let's do a -14. And merge these two on top of each other. So I just say plus. So now I should get 2 waves. Oh, that's right. So this is like already halfway. That actually worked. It was an accident that I did that way. It's plus 14 on this as well. And then I'm going to use A2 to plug into that. So now we're going to have 3 pulses that kind of happen. And the match move should definitely happen after all of this crap. Yeah, I love O-Flow because it gives, I just used O-Flow actually. It gives like this really nice ability to say, hey, on this frame, I want it to be at this frame, which is fantastic. Yeah, you can set specific frames. That's crazy. It's like, it's so useful. All right, so now we're getting this nice little blur effect that's kind of in here that we're not going to see. But it's definitely this nice little extra kind of warbling effect. I might even go a little crazier on it. Because again, this is kind of like this weird heat wave energy field thing that we're going for. And the more blast that we would have in there, probably the better. I'm thinking also maybe some smoke, so we're going to add in some atmospherics primarily around this area here that'll be lifted up by like kind of like our bright areas. Let's go ahead and do that. Again, I'm going to go to Action VFX. They've got some different things we can use. I like just grabbing some atmosphere that they have, really easy to throw into a scene. Again, I got a link in the description for all of this stuff. Thinking that we want to go something more like... Yeah, let's do this. Download this to the correct folder. But yeah, I mean, I guess I never really answered your question. To go back to like how many hats do I wear? Yeah, I do a lot of different things in my specific job, and then I would say I wear quite a bit of hats in general. I think you kind of have to when you're, an aspiring filmmaker, right? So, it kind of just depends. Breaking news. What happened? What's breaking news? AI took over the world? Yeah, add this before the smoke. The Acolyte trailer is out. Dude, no way. Oh my god. I'll have to watch this later. I can't watch this right now. Sorry. Oh my gosh! Woo! Let's go. Another Star Wars content for us to be disappointed about. Can't wait, guys. Can't wait. That's my goal one day, is just to create a Star Wars film that people won't be disappointed about. That's my goal. First ever VFX I ever did in life was a lightsaber visual effects shot. It's in my blood, dude. One day I will make a Star Wars film. It will happen. I'm going to use, here's actually what we could also do. I'm going to add in a curve tool. And let's plug it in all the way over there. I'm going to select kind of like this whole section here. Let's go to average intensities. And this should just give you like red, green, blue values. I'm actually curious. If I went into... let's add a constant. And this constant is... let's add an expression. Curve tool 2 dot intensity data. And now it'll actually make it red, green, or blue. So actually, if we go look at this, you can kind of see it. Oops. Global. And then let's see, this intensity data that it has here. First, let's edit this expression and multiply it by 10. And then now our values will be more extreme, I think. Actually, we didn't need to do that. What am I doing? Let's just add a saturation node in. Make it more saturated. So now we've got like this value here. What we could then do is use another merge node and then multiply this color value on top of it. And so if we use the multiply, it'll basically just multiply whatever color we're getting from our constant onto it. Star Wars was my into VFX. Yeah, I feel like it is for a lot of people. A couple years back when I worked in TLG, that was a nice full circle. TLJ. TLJ. What's TLJ? Is that a VFX house that I should know the name of? Oh, whoops. I don't know what happened here. Oh, was I, that's so funny. I received like a work phone call and my cell phone decided to stop working, of course. Okay, great. Now we just need the smoke to move with everything else, so I'm just gonna copy paste our tracker, a transform match move. But of course, the atmosphere is everywhere, and we're not going to want the atmosphere everywhere. We're only going to want it in areas in which the value of the kind of laser effect is kind of lifting. So it's not going to be in like the dark areas of your image. Oof. We're not going to use that match move. I just realized there's a lot of problems with it. Let's add in a track because it's moving with the gun rather than the background environment. So let's just add another tracker. This is pretty easy to do. We'll just add a tracker in. Track something in the environment that's like a marker. I think that goes out of frame, so. Yeah, the first effects I ever did, I talked about this before, was painting in lightsaber effects with MS Paint. So, to me, it's always been a really close to my heart. Star Wars, you know, it made me want to make films and tell stories and all that stuff. So, I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. You know, it inspired them to go be filmmakers. 12-bit footage is 12-bit footage enough for what? It depends on what you're trying to do. Oh, The Last Jedi. You got to work on The Last Jedi? Dude, that's freaking dope. Hell yeah. Congratulations. I would love to work on a Star Wars film. I was trying to get to just do like anything in Star Wars. I was like, hey, if they had me just do like paintouts, I'd do paintouts, you know? Alright, I'm going to take the brightness values from our blaster that we have here. Take this, blur it. And that's good. I'm going to then take this value and then desaturate everything to just a black and white image. And we're going to use this for our smoke. So let's add another merge node in here. Yeah, they already have the match move going on. And I'm going to use a mask, plug it in all the way over there. And just do the red values. Now it's only going to have smoke in the areas in which kind of like this blurred effect is happening. We can even blur a little bit more. Yeah, I think let's just go pretty big on this. But now we're only having the atmospherics appear where kind of that laser is going to be going through and not in the dark areas of our image. One thing we got to be a little bit concerned with is our fog is going a little slow. Just drop in an O-flow or something like that, and then just make this 3 times the speed. And then just do time offset as well. Let's do 900. That way our fog is going to move a little bit quicker. We could have grabbed a different plate, but I'm a lazy, so I don't want to download anything else. But yes, then this then gets comped into our image. And of course we can control the amount that we want this to be seen. I'm going to increase the amount now because it's only going to be in specific parts of the image. It was paid for me back then. Some nasty shots too. Oh yeah, that sucks, dude. But just working on the Star Wars was wild. Yeah, I dude, again, like I hate paint out shots, but I would totally do it for a job like that. Okay, now we got the smoke kind of appearing in that area. That's good. It's good. Now let's hit playback everything here. Although, hey, this isn't anything against you, but The Last Jedi was probably my least favorite Star Wars film. No. 9 might have been worse. Might have been worse. Okay. Overall, it's working pretty nicely. I'm gonna overall grade the scene to be a little more red. And then I'm going to add a little bit of contrast into our scene as well. Or specific, well, not contrast. If we take the shadows here, we could take the gain down a little bit on the shadows. I think that it would be pretty nice. The VFX for The Last Jedi were fire. I mean, they were. The probably one of the best freaking shots of the entire Star Wars universe is in that one. The Last Jedi. What was it? Lightspeed shot? Dude, this shot? This shot? The most gorgeous shot in the entire freaking film ever? I watched this in Dolby. This is the first film I watched in Dolby. Come on, get to the good shot. Look at this dude. And then the whole... everything just went silent. Pow! Bro. The destruction on this. Holy cow. Gorgeous. What a gorgeous sequence. Amazing. Amazing stuff, guys. Okay, so, I mean, hey, I think this is going to be the shot here. Unless you guys have any suggestions on anything else to add into the sequence. Pretty simple shot today, actually. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. But yeah, this is the blaster shot for Ghostbusters. And if you guys are new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We do weekly live streams where we do compositing stuff like this, but we also do weekend streams where I'll try to make something in CG and Blender. Join the Discord, link is in the description, and that's where you guys can make recommendations on different stuff. I also have a Patreon now, and all the project files for the streams that I do over the weekend go on Patreon. And if there's enough interest in this stuff, I can start putting up these scripts as well. Though these are in Nuke Indie, so I've been hesitant to do that because people that have Nuke X won't be able to open up these project files. So until I actually get Nuke X for my home computer, that's probably not a great idea to be passing around Nuke Indie scripts, because it makes it a little more annoying for other people to kind of view. But yeah, I think this shot was a lot of fun. I wanted to do this shot this week because Ghostbusters is coming out this week, so I'm probably gonna go check that out. And now I'm gonna go watch the Acolyte trailer, which all you guys should as well. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button. And I'll see you guys next week or this coming weekend for another live stream. You guys have a good one. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, that was all. ILM, sadly. We did the bridge explosion. Yeah. Oh, the bridge Leia ship. Okay. And a bunch of other bits. That's cool. Well, great work. Thanks. Hey, by the way, thanks for jumping into the stream. It was cool to talk with all you guys. I do actually have to go because I have to go to work. So that's the problem with these midweek streams, is that I go to work after these streams are over. But if you guys like this stuff and you want to see more of it, I've been doing more and more streams lately. So join the Discord, and let's actually, real quick, let me show you a few things on the Discord. I just need to open up my Discord app. If you guys do join the Discord, you will see that, let me share my screen real quick. You guys can introduce yourself, share what you kind of work on. Maybe if you guys have your own reel, go ahead and post that on here. This is under the introduction section. We have like a general chat where we can all talk there. Show your work in progress, stuff that you need to show. You know, show stuff that you're currently working on, and different workflows and stuff like that. Of course, we also have our rules. Make sure to stay up to date on that to make sure that you guys aren't breaking those, because we don't have, it's not a big community, so I can't, you know, always moderate stuff. So if you do anything that breaks the rules, we'll just have to kick you from the thing, and that's no good. We also have a showcase section where you guys can post your own artwork inside of here, get feedback from other people. I also post all of my finished renders on here as well. So all of this stuff can go up on here, and you guys can share anything that you're working on and get some feedback, some comments, and all that stuff. But that link is in the description, so you can find that down here. There's a Discord link right there, and I look forward to seeing you guys all there. But thanks for joining the live stream today. I gotta peace out, but you guys have a good one, and I will see you next time. And keep creating, guys. Keep doing it.